Welcome everyone to the You Are Worthy Network. Happy Wednesday. I don't know where this week has gone. I can't believe it's the middle of the week, but it is nevertheless. Hope you guys are all enjoying a tremendously blessed week. I'm super excited as always to be with you live in the network because I have a really special guest that I was just talking with before we went live, and a lot of you have shown interest in this interview in particular, and it must be because of Martha, not me. So I am very honored to introduce her to you shortly. But I do want to remind you guys of a couple of things before we get started here. Number one, you may have seen the post that I put out a couple of days ago. Unfortunately, last week we lost our YouTube channel temporarily. Luckily, my team had it back fully restored within 48 hours, but we lost all our subscribers in rebuilding it. So if you could please go to YouTube and like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. We save all of our interviews, every single one of them, because you may or may not know that Facebook takes down live interviews after 30 days. But we put them all on YouTube, so we have the whole library and you have access to them anytime you want to go back and watch one. So we would really appreciate if you would subscribe to that channel. And two, you may have also seen me put out a post about having the first roundtable discussion in the network. And we do not yet quite have a date for that, but I am excited to tell you just a little sneak peek that we do have our panelists for that. And Martha is going to be one of those. So shh, it's a secret still, but I guess I just let the cat out of the bag. But Martha, I'm super thrilled that she's going to be one of our panelists when we do have the roundtable. So stay tuned for when we do get that scheduled. Hopefully that'll be in the next few weeks. But let's move on and let's make it all about Martha today, because it is about Martha. I'm going to read you her bio. I've got to put on my old man glasses for that. Um, Martha says, I often tell people that my journey as a coach has been shaped by real life lessons, seasons of loss, transition, healing, and breakthrough. Each chapter of my life has become part of the testimony I bring into my coaching practice. As a relationship and mental health life coach, I help individuals, couples, and families navigate life's toughest moments with faith, strategy, and resilience. My coaching style, Martha said, is rooted in compassion and accountability while walking with clients as they break through from limited beliefs, renew their minds, and align their lives with God's purpose. Whether I'm working with someone on grief recovery, building stronger relationships, or creating sustainable habits for mental and emotional health, I bring both practical tools and biblical wisdom to the conversation. But beyond the coaching sessions, I believe that life is meant to be enjoyed. One of my favorite hobbies is roller skating. It reminds me of the importance of balance, rhythm, and freedom. Just like coaching, skating is about movement, sometimes slow and steady, sometimes fast and full of energy, but always forward. I also love music, laughter, and creating spaces where people feel safe to be their authentic selves. Coaching for me isn't just a profession, it's a calling. And I have learned that who we are outside of work, our joys, hobbies, passions, all help us connect more deeply with others inside the coaching space. I love all of that. I love the roller skating. My wife is a huge roller skater as well. Martha, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thank you so much, Steve, for having me. It's such a pleasure and honor to be on your network. It really is. Thank you for having
Oh,
me.
you are so welcome. I met Martha, I guess, maybe about a year ago
Yes.
when we were having some dialogue inside Lori Phillips, You Are Awesome, or the Be Awesome Network, excuse me. And we got to know each other a little bit in there. And Martha, her personality is going to come shining through here. So let's just dive in and let her shine. Martha, so when you're not roller skating, What do you like to do for fun?
When I'm not roller skating, I love joking around with the people that I hang out with. And I'm a people person, so I enjoy being around people. I like walking on the beach with my husband. I like, you know, window shopping. Even if I have to buy, no, no, but I'm real particular. So what I do, but what I enjoy the most out of anything is spending time with my grandkids.
Mm,
That is my favorite thing to do.
okay, so tell us a little bit about your family. You mentioned your husband. How many years married, kids, grandkids?
Oh,
Tell us the scoop.
we are 32 years married. We've been knowing each other for 43 years, so I'm telling my age. I met him in high school, actually. And we became friends for a long time, but yes, I have total of 7 grandchildren, and two of them live in San Antonio, Francis and Leo. And then I have three, no, I have four in Chicago, Phoenix, Princeton, Genesis, and Little Jeff. And then one in North Carolina. Those are, some are bonus grandchildren, and some are actually blood linked.
Hmm.
But they all my grandchildren.
Right. Yes, you claim them all for sure.
Yes.
So I was gonna say you must have met your husband in like daycare or elementary
Yeah,
school.
yeah, we was like in preschool. No, no, I actually met him in my sophomore year of high school, and we were just friends actually. And surprisingly, we have no biological children together, but together we have one big blended family.
Beautiful blended family for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so you got the grandchildren all over the country, it sounds like. Where are you located?
I was in San Antonio months ago, but I moved back to Chicago. So now I'm located in Forest Park, Illinois.
Okay, I thought you were near Chicago, but I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Um, so have you always been in the coaching realm, or do you have a more what's the word I want to use? Is it a more diverse professional story before you went into coaching?
I have a pretty huge, yeah, yeah, definitely diverse. When I was in high school, actually when I was little, I knew in my heart I wanted to do something that helped people in the mental health field. I just didn't know. I was like 10 years old when I kind of was like, when God was actually utilizing that gift. Because I used to go to my parents' friends. I leave my friends, go to my parents' friends and sit down and listen to their marriage conversations, listening to their stories. They used to actually literally confide in me at a 10-year-old. I just, all I did was listen, and it made them feel better. The only reason why I knew it made them feel better, because when I left and didn't go see them, like I was too busy with my friends, they'd call my mom and go, I haven't seen Martha, and she tell her to come by, and I would come by and sit with them. It was just company for them. And I knew I wanted to do that. But when I went to high school, I went to a trade school, and I, got into sewing. That's another thing that I'm very, very good at. And so my major was fashion design. And I won first place at the Museum of Science and Industry. So I decided to go to fashion school in California. I went to FITM, Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. But then I realized there's a difference between sewing and fashion design. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And so my father kept saying, "Go to be a secretary, be a secretary." So, but when I was in California, I lived in California. When I went to work in collections, actually doing collections, and I remember I was 2 weeks into it. Someone quit in the design department, and they asked me to come and fill that position, and it was a leadership position. It was a design coordinator. So I was in charge of making sure all of, I was in charge of a whole design department. And he trained me and brought me up. And I did that for like 6 years, moved to the production area of the business, and then came back to Chicago. When I came back to Chicago, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? So I started doing administrative assistant work. Did very well because one thing about administrative assistants, they are servants. They serve. I'm very good at service, so it's I could be in any field and thrive. But I also have a leadership part of me that is in operation as well. That where I can do working being a supervisor, and so I moved to from Chicago. I'm going fast because I'm letting you know like
You're
that's that
fine.
diversity is. So I ended up going to I said, you know what, let me just go to school and finish my degree out. I went to get my degree in psychology at the Roosevelt University of Chicago, Roosevelt University in Chicago. I ended up with a bachelor's degree. And then I said, well, let me go get my master's because I want to be a counselor. And so I did that. I ended up getting my master's in marriage and family therapy. And then I did a class on military families. And I was so intrigued that I talked to my supervisor that was I was actually counseling in the Christian Counseling Center and in a homeless facility. So I had two places I went to work. And so when I decided to go to, I talked to my supervisor. I said, I really want to do the military. I'm so intrigued by it, about what they go through, and I really want to help them. He said, "Well, you need to go to Texas, San Antonio, Texas. It's a hub for that. It's a military town." And so my husband and I went to end up moving to San Antonio, Texas, and that's why I ended up. Um, when I got there, they wanted me to start over with my
Mhm.
internship, and I was like, I need money. So I went back into the field of being an administrative assistant. And one day, I ended up with a, a very observant manager. And he said, Martha, what is it that you really want to do? Because this is not this, you do a very good job at what you do, but I think it's more to you. And so he ended up talking to me about leaders. I told him, I said, I wouldn't mind getting into leadership because I did like the corporate world, but I was struggling with this. I got to do my whole internship over. And so then I heard about life coaching. And at the same time as I was going through this transition of leadership. So it was a young lady that came to our company and we were starting to get into integrating companies into our business and doing shared services. So we met, she really liked my personality and they talked and she ended up giving me a leadership position in her department. And so from there, I was in corporate supervising a department I'd never been a part of, which is accounts receivable. And so I ended up in that department. And then they wanted me to go to school to get a green belt, Lean Six Sigma green belt. The company paid for it. And I ended up getting a getting a certification in that. That's a process improvement methodology. And it's master's level. And so I ended up saving the company lots of money by operating in that. And it's a lot of coaching involved, business coaching. So I ended up doing that, which was great because I use it in my practice. And then because it's really how do you find the root cause? And so so that's how diverse my background is. But I did end up in life coaching. I opened my practice in San Antonio. And then my husband said he wanted to move back in Chicago. This was what, years later. And so pretty much I could take my practice anywhere. So I want to support him, and we moved back to Chicago. So I was able to, retain my clients plus gather more. Now, just continuing to do my practice and being on different. I am on a board of a nonprofit, which is for autism, and I facilitate a group every month, which is for the caregivers because I was a caregiver. And so, but I facilitate that group to support that particular um for that particular nonprofit. And so it's called Juice Goes. Um Recreation Center is awesome nonprofit. So I'm on the board of that. So yeah, my background is very diverse, but coaching is what I love to do.
Yeah, diverse is the right word. And when you left that collections department to get promoted, it's like you never looked back, did you?
I never looked back. It was always, it's funny because God always illuminated me in different positions, but all of those skills were transferable, and it all makes me who I am today.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? Like some of the things that I've done when I started to enter them, like new seasons of life, like it made no sense to me. You know, the puzzle pieces just didn't fit. But of course,
Right.
always in hindsight, you see God's faithfulness and how He would each step is preparing you for the next. It's just remarkable. So tell us in your coaching business. Of course, we looked at a little bit in the bio, but what's your sweet spot? What do you really like to help clients with? I'm sure that's a multifaceted answer, but if you could narrow it down just to a
Actually,
couple.
you know what? It took time because it's like you have all this experience, right? But it took time for me to realize what my sweet spot was. And it's really relationships. I enjoy watching, especially when families come into the room and all you have to do is just let them go in the office first and watch where they sit, how they sit. It tells you a lot about the story of the family. I love couples because the dynamic is so uh, different because you got two people different, looking from two different lenses coming together, trying to make it work. And it can be very, it can be tough, but it's definitely attainable if you really want to work on it. And then you have the premarital. I do premarital coaching with a I use Prepare and Enrich. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it's really it's an assessment that's given to the couple. I think it's great for not just premarital when you begin to start dating. It's a great tool to use because what it does is it gets you talking about things that you normally wouldn't talk about that causes problems at in the when you really get into the relationship. So what the assessment along with coaching is 99%, it has a 99% efficacy rate, which is great. I've seen couples prosper in it. And so I do, I definitely do that. It's for all couples, whether you're married or not, whether you consider a marriage or whether you just want to see if you're compatible. All of these things work and play because we talk about the things that people, what they call the elephant in the room, you don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
You get all of those out the way, and that way you can make a sound decision. Do I really want to be with this person? Do I want to continue life with this person? What are my non-negotiable? It talks about all of that because sometimes we have those or you have you have people who get ready to get married. One don't want any kids and the other one do, and they never talked about it. Surprisingly, never talked about it. You have cultural differences that they don't want to talk about. So it gets all into the weaves of that. And so my sweet spot is relationships, especially with yourself, others, and God. And I've been through where I had to learn how to have a relationship with myself because I'm married to my husband 30 some years. We did have a divorce in the beginning, but we remarried. And it was because I didn't have a good relationship with myself. So I played a part in damaging our relationship. And then relationship with, you know, other people and God. My relationship with God tells me a lot about how to move in life because if I have a good biblical standard to follow, it helps me navigate the world better.
I love that. I'm going to throw you a bit of a curveball, but I think
Okay.
you'll like it when I describe it. Because I know from what I know about you, I know how warm, empathetic, and caring you are. And I know that comes out in your coaching, especially when relationships are at the center of your life like they are. And I want people to get a glimpse. I want you to brag on yourself to the glory of
Oh
God, of
Lord,
course.
that is a
Uh,
curve.
if you could think about this, if you could think of 3 words, kind of take a sampling of your client in your mind and think of 3 words that they may be experiencing before they come to see you. And then think of three
before they walk in my
before
office.
yeah, like for example, maybe skeptical, maybe, I don't want to put
Yeah.
words in your mouth, I'm just giving you an idea. Three words to describe how they felt before, and 3 words to describe after they worked with you.
Okay. Anxious.
Mhm.
Um, I would say mm, I would say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the word to use. I would say skeptical.
Mhm.
And I would say um they really don't know. So let me see what word I can use.
Curious.
Yeah, curious. Yeah, curious.
Okay, so a lot of not sure, right? A lack of
Right.
confidence coming in. So what would they experience coming out? What 3 words would describe their situation coming out of working with you?
I would say clarity. I would say confident. I would say empowered.
Mm,
Mhm. That's my gift to
clarity,
empower others. Yeah.
clarity, confidence, and empowered. You see what a transformational time of working with Martha can bring you. That's huge. I mean, that's God
It
powerfully
is so
working.
God. It is so. I'm gonna tell you why it's really, and I brag. I can brag about myself all day long if I wanted to, but I really have to honestly say I do give glory to God before I even, you know, when I take on a client and it's time, right before it's time for me to start my session, even the morning before, each morning I pray this when I see clients because I see them. I pray, even though I'm degreed up, I have more degrees than the thermometer, but I really rely on the Holy Spirit to come in the room with me. So I invite the Lord in the room with me, and when I do that, I get I get something different. It's one thing to be a coach, but it's another thing to be a coach under the under the umbrella and allow under the submission of the Holy Spirit. What
Mhm.
happens is I'm able to see things that I would not normally see. God will give me questions that I would know that I probably wouldn't even ask. That sometimes I'd say, okay, let me try that. But it really opens up the client because we are so complex that he knows everything about everyone. He know the number of your the number of hairs on your head. He knows you.
Yeah,
So why not pull on the source that gave me the gift? And so that's what I do.
that's
I pull
right.
on the source that gave me the gift. So when I'm in a room, I'm confident when I go in because I know that he's with me. And when I say they walk out with clarity, they know what they dealing with, what plan I'm going to use, and what they're going to get out of the plan when they leave. So they very sure of how we're going to do the sessions, and that's how I operate in my business. And I empower them because the God has given me that particular gift of empowerment. And I noticed that that's really the highlight of my gifting.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you deflect personal accolades to God. That's inspiring. I wanna hit on your podcast in a minute, but before we do, I know, even though I don't know your story well, I'm trusting that all this diversity in your background, all the success, all the clients that you've helped, um, all the guests you've had on your podcast, you've had a lot of success, excuse me, the last few years. And I know you would deflect that to God as well. But I'm trusting that there was a time where things weren't so great. Things were a little darker.
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
even you didn't feel worthy. What I like to tell our viewers all the time, and this is true, it's a good point for me to tell you guys now. You are worthy of love, respect, and success. And even in our darkest days, when we don't feel like that, you are still worthy. But we don't always
Yes.
feel that way when the circumstances are different. Is there a time you can recall in your life when you didn't feel so worthy?
Steve, yes, plenty. Plenty. Even during the time of success, it pops up, and I
Mhm.
recognize it's gonna happen where it from past trauma will you will have a trigger that causes you to step back into that realm, but you have the tools to pull yourself out. So yes, I have my mother and father's divorce. When they divorced, it really brought curiosity to why relationships fail, but it also caused me to have um, emotional eating, an emotional eating disorder. And then those were dark times, and they often come back up. Like if I'm stressed, I go to food for comfort. Well, when I figured out that's what I was doing, I have to be intentional when it comes up because I can override it and say, I just want to eat, or I just want to substitute. But I want to substitute it with going to God and say, Lord, what do I do about this versus going to um, Giordano's and go eat a pizza to feel feel that point because I don't want to feel at that moment. But I'm intentional about that. There's dark places in success where there's time, even before I started the podcast, I'm gonna be honest with you. It took a minute to start it. I had it in my heart for like a year, well,
Mhm.
maybe a year and a half. And I was scared to start it because I don't like the sound of my voice. And so I had to go to a coach to help me through that because I was like, it wasn't even about are they gonna care what I say, it was my voice. So when every time I used to come on in the beginning stages, nobody knew this, but I before as soon as right before I get ready to turn the camera on, I want to throw up.
Mm.
And so I went through that season for like, I don't know, maybe a couple of months. But when I get on and get on the camera, it just I pray about it and something just get me going and I will forget about it. But then when I go back and hear it and go, I hate my voice. So until somebody told me that's your superpower, because somebody told me that was my superpower. They said because of how people gravitate toward a more masculine voice when they listening. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so but I, started, I have no problems with that anymore. But yeah, you during success, you definitely can feel unworthy, especially, and I'll tell you, relationships are so key to me. When I did the relocation, I there was some relationships that I did not handle properly. And I'm being honest, and it made me feel unworthy at that time, but I had to give myself grace because I didn't intentionally do it. But you will feel unworthy when you do not handle relationships properly, no
That's
matter
right.
what they are. And a lot of our unworthiness come from the root of how we deal with our relationships. And that's why relationships are so key.
Yeah, I love that. May I ask how old you were when your parents divorced?
I was 7.
Okay. And I was two. when my parents divorced. And although I don't remember the event itself, I remember the aftermath.
Mm,
And, uh, you know, of course, a lot of folks come from broken homes today, but, and I know we could probably do another interview, would probably be good, but like the baggage that 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 we carry from that.
oh,
I know
goodness
from
gracious.
I know for me, and I'm a pastor and a nonprofit executive and blah 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 blah. I have now at 56 tools in my tool belt, but I really didn't have those tools. Quite frankly, even after becoming a Christian, obviously now I'm equipped with the
Right, you
Word and the
don't.
Spirit and all those things. But I needed some specific tools to begin my healing that really didn't begin until 47, 48 years old.
Right.
Um, so it is amazing how events like that can shape our lives. And I appreciate you being vulnerable. Like we hear about imposter syndrome and fear of failure, but fear of success is not talked about nearly as much, but it's a real thing.
It's a real thing because what would it mean for you to be successful? What would that's the question. What would it mean for you to be successful? And you know what? It's a struggle because it does to whom much is given, much is required. Are you setting yourself and being are you setting yourself up to step into that area, and are you stepping into that area a different way than you are currently, because it does causes a it does cause a level of being uncomfortable when you start to walk into success. And then what does success mean to you? All of these questions come up. But I didn't have the tools either to deal with my parents' divorce, because and it made me feel unworthy when they went through that divorce, because when I walked in the house at 7 years old after playing, I walked into my mother literally throwing my dad out with paper
Mm,
bags, his clothes in paper bags, throwing them on the porch, and him telling me, "Go get my clothes." And she said, "You better not touch those clothes." I'm right in the middle of chaos. And
mm,
my response was to freeze. And when I froze, I made in my little 7-year old mind, I conceptualized that it was my fault that they broke up,
mm,
because no one had the conversation about that. But because I made a decision, I put the weight on me of the relationship. So I felt unworthy, and I felt like I ruined relationships. I ruined everybody because I was in the presence of them. And that's the story I love telling myself.
mm. Yeah, and lies of the enemy too, right?
Yes. Hmm. So I do a
But
lot of work.
yeah, well, for I mean, for a little girl, you're not equipped for quite a while longer to deal with the reality of that situation. Of course, you weren't to blame for that. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, I get it. It takes a lot of untraining of the mind and filling it
Yes,
up
it
with
really does.
new.
And as you navigate through relationships, you got to continue to train your mind
Mhm.
that you're not to blame for that, because it's a trigger that pops up. When
Yep.
relationship, you got to remind yourself, this is not on me. Or take the responsibility if it is.
Right. Exactly. Um, Tell us a little bit about your podcast, Casting the Net. I've had the honor of being a guest on there, and I know several people that have as well. But where the vision from it come, and where's it going next?
So the vision came from, okay, so I have no videos of my parents. They passed away and I have no videos
Sorry.
of any, like, them. If I want to, sometimes I want to see them on the video and I can't because I have not. And I said, you know what, as a grandmother, I want my kids to have videos, but how do I do that without them getting, not that my parents wasn't on videos, I just don't have access to them. And so I said, how can I get my grandchildren to have videos of me, but make it with purpose? And so it started off with Mondays with Martha, and Mondays with Coach Rice, rather. And it was Mondays with Martha because during COVID, that's what it was. I only did a few episodes and I stopped because fear stepped in. And then I started back with Mondays with Coach Rice. And then I was talking to Summer Day. I don't know if you know her. She's a speaker coach, and she said, Martha, your podcast Mondays with Martha sound good, but you need a tagline. And so I didn't think nothing of it until somebody said, you know, they saw an episode of, of my podcast where I had my first guest, which was my son. And we were dialoguing about the danger of comparison. Very good podcast, actually. And somebody called me when they heard it and they said, you, I have to tell you, God put on my heart the scripture of Peter. It was in Luke where he told him to cast the net. And so I said, okay, let me check. I'll check the scripture out. When I read the scripture in my time with the Lord, he spoke to me and gave me the vision of casting the net, open it up, bring in more guests, because when people come to me, this division I saw, when people come to me and say, I need you as a coach, I'm a relationship coach. It was around the time I really started to understand relationships was my niche. When people come to me about coaching, I'm not going to be able to handle the load. And I need a Rolodex of referrals. And so that's what I saw in the vision. And I said, wow. And so it was that I began to interview people, and whatever they did outside of my niche or inside, even sometimes, because everybody don't fit with you, don't mean you're a terrible coach. It just means that they need someone they can really join with. So I said, let me just use this as my Rolodex. And so I love interviewing people. It is one of my favorite things to do because I get to network and I enjoy talking to people, as you can see. So
Yeah, it's amazing how much fun it is, and it's amazing how God works to connect you with different people. It's just like looking forward to something new every single day. And you're very, very
yes.
good at asking questions, and you're a great listener too, obviously, in what you do, and that comes shining through in your podcast also.
Thank you.
Mar Martha, we're about to close it out, but I would love for you to leave our viewers with a word of encouragement.
I would say when you feeling unworthy or you feel unheard or unseen, or any type of emotion you're experiencing in your body, pay attention to it because that's our body's communicating that this needs attention. Don't override it. Go get the help you need. Call coach, therapist, pastor, whatever, whoever you need to help you deal with that emotion. Go do it because it's a signal to you that it's something that needs to be dealt with. It's important. Your mental health is so important that imagine you can break your leg and you can go to work after you get the cast on. But when your brain shuts down, it shuts the whole body down. So I would say definitely take care of your mental health by going to even preventative methods. Go find out where you are and get an assessment done on, like a yearly physical for your mental health and find out what areas in your life that has a deficit that need to come up. And I do that type of assessment. So I would say do that. That's my call to action. Find out where you are in your mental health so you can get the help you need. And we have so many people in the world that can help. And that's what God put us on, to be helpers one to another.
Very, very wise words, Martha. Thank you. Where can folks find you? We'll include all your links in the description afterwards, but where can people find you if they want to learn more?
You could definitely go to my website, www.complete the letter N. I took the I out. It's the letter N, him.com. Or you can reach me through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel is Casting the Net. You can reach me on all of those different links, as well as you can look at me on Be Awesome Network or You Are Worthy Network. You can find me on those platforms.
Martha is all over the place. She is
Yes.
easy to find, but we will put some specific links for sure. Martha, thank you for sharing your gift with us for a little while today. Thank you for your warmth. Thank you for your vulnerability with the viewers today. It's been awesome having you.
Thank you for having me on your network. It's been a pleasure. So grateful to have people like you that's doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Guys, take Martha's advice. Get that mental health checkup, and that can look different to different people. I know for me, working with a coach for the last 9 months. When I started off, it became obvious to me that I had and I think I knew this, but I needed to see it on paper. A simple life grid showed me that I didn't have any hobbies anymore at 56 years old. I wasn't having fun in my overall life anymore. And so I've since picked up a couple of hobbies, living a more balanced life. I always go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week because I've always enjoyed doing that because I like to eat. I go to the gym. But we need to be around for our loved ones as long as we can. And that involves several things. I don't want to preach at you guys. I'm a preacher. I can tend to do that. But you guys are awesome. And please understand wherever you're at, because I know there's some that are going to watch this that need the encouragement. We all need to be encouraged. We need to be a part of a community that encourages one another. You are worthy of love, respect, and success. And I want to be the one to remind you today that your story's not over yet. God's not done with you. If you're still breathing today, it's a gift, and He's not done with you. Trust that. Appreciate all of you. Again, a huge thank you to Martha. You guys be blessed until next time. Take care.